بسم الله إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. Chapter 3. Some sayings from the Salaf concerning Allah's attributes and the ijma, consensus concerning the falsehood of ta'wil, a refutation of the asha'irah by Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah. Al-Azawi, that died 157 Hijri, said, I asked Az-Zuhri Makhul about the ayat pertaining the sifat, attributes of Allah. So they said, leave them as they are. Reported by Al-Lalikai in Sharh Usul I'tiqad, Volume 3, page 100, page 430. Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi in the Ta'wil, page 18, and the chain of narration is Hasan. Al-Walid ibn Muslim died 194 Hijri, said, I asked Malik, Al-Azawi, Layth bin Sa'ad, and Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahumullah concerning the reports related about the attributes. So they all said, leave them as they are without asking how. Reported by Al-Ajuri in asha'irah, page 314, Al-Bayhaqi in Al-Asma wa Sifat, page 453, and also I'tiqad, page 118, and the chain of narration is Hasan. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah died 241 Hijri, said, these ahadith should he left as they are. We affirm them and we do not make any similitude for them. This is what has been agreed upon by the ulama. Reported by Ibn al-Jawzi in Manaqib Imam Ahmad, page 155 to 156. Nu'aym ibn Hamad died 228 Hijri, said, whoever makes tashbih, resemblance of Allah to his creation, has committed kufr, and whoever denies what Allah has described himself with has also committed kufr. Indeed, all that Allah has described himself with, or what his messenger has described him with, then there's no tashbih in it at all. This is reported by Imam Dhahabi in Al-Ulu, page 217. And in this is a clear proof from the Salaf that whatever Allah has affirmed for himself and what his messenger has affirmed for him, then there's no tashbih in it whatsoever. And in this is an exposition and an uncovering of Ahlul Bid'ah amongst the Jahmiyyah, the Mu'tazila, the asha'irah, the Maturidiyah, and others like them who accuse those upon the Aqidah of the Salaf that they are Mushabiha and Mujassima, anthropomorphist. Rather, it is they who are the Mushahiba and the Mujassima due to the disease in their hearts. It is not possible for them to affirm the attributes of Allah without their hearts resembling them to the creation, and this is why ta'wil, interpolation of the attributes, is one of their hallmarks. Their claim being, we are declaring Allah free from defects, but in fact they are stripping Allah of his attributes until Allah is but nothingness. A'udhu billah. As Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Shaybani died 889 Hijri, the companion of Abu Hanifa, said, all the fuqaha from the east to the west are agreed upon the obligation of having faith in the Quran and the Hadith, which the reliable and trustworthy narrators have come with from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in describing the Lord, the mighty and majestic, without explaining them or likening them to the creation, tashbih. So whoever explains anything from them today, then he has departed from that which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions were upon. For verily they did not explain them, but they gave verdicts with whatever in the book and the sunnah, and they remained quiet. So whoever speaks with the saying of Jahm ibn Safwan, then he has separated from the Jama'ah, since he, Jahm, describes Allah with nothingness. A'udhu billah. Rather, by Al-Lalikai in Sharh Usul I'tiqad, Volume 3, page 432. And this is also the basis for the accusation against Ahl Sunnah, that they are Zahiriyah literalists, since they, due to the aforementioned sickness in the hearts, resort to ta'wil with respect to the attributes of Allah and explain them in a way unknown to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions. Imam at-Tirmidhi, died 279, said, it has been stated by more than one person from the people of knowledge about such a hadith that there is no tashbih, resemblance to the attributes of Allah, and our Lord, the Blessed and Most High, descends to the lowest heaven every night. So they say, affirm these narrations, have iman in them, and do not deny them, nor ask how. The likes of this has been related from Malik ibn Anas, Sufyan al-Thawri, Ibn Uyayna, Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak, who all said about such a hadith, leave them as they are, without asking how. Such is the saying of the people of knowledge from Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. However, the Jahmiyyah oppose these narrations and say, this is tashbih. However, Allah the Most High has mentioned in various places in His book the attribute of Al-Yad, the hand, As-Sam, hearing, and Al-Basr, seeing. But the Jahmiyyah make ta'wil of these ayat, explaining them in a way other than how they were explained by the people of knowledge. They, the Jahmiyyah, say, indeed, Allah did not create Adam alayhi salam with his own hands. They say that hand means the power of Allah. This is recorded from Sunan at-Tirmidhi, Volume 3, page 24. Al-Khatabi died, rahimahullah, he died 338, said, the madhab of the Salaf, the pious predecessors, with regard to the sifat, attributes of Allah, is to affirm them as they are, ala dhahir, with the apparent meaning, negating any tashbih, resemblance to them, nor takyif, asking how they are. This is in Al-Ghunayya عن كلام وأهله, as quoted in Mukhtasar Al-Ulu, page 137. Imam Sabuni died 449 Hijri, said, indeed, Ashabul Hadith, the scholars of Hadith, those who hold fast to the book and the Sunnah, may Allah protect their lives and shower mercy upon those that have died, bear witness to the Tawheed of Allah and to the messengership and prophethood of His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They know their Lord, the mighty and majestic, by the attributes which He has spoken of in His revelation, and by what He has sent down or testified to by His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They do not believe in tashbih, resemblance of His attributes with the attributes of the creation. They say, indeed, He created Adam with His own hands, as He, the most perfect, textually stated, O Iblis, what prevented you from prostrating to one whom I have created with my own two hands? This is in Surah 38, verse 75. So they do not distort the words from the proper context by carrying the meaning of Yadain, the two hands of Allah, to mean Ni'matain, two bounties, or Quwwatain, two powers, which is tahrif, distortion of the Mu'tazila and the Jahmiyyah. May Allah destroy them. They do not ask how these attributes are, nor do they resemble them to His creation. Allah the Most High protected Ahlul Sunnah from such tahrif, takyif, tashbih, and favored them with knowledge and understanding. This is in Aqidat Ahlul Sunnah wa Ashabul Hadith wal A'imma, page number 3. Qadi Abu Ya'la died 458 Hijri, said, the proof for the futility of ta'wil is that the Sahaba and those who followed them from the Tabi'een understood them, the attributes, ala zahir, upon the literal meaning, and they did not take recourse to ta'wil, nor did they move away from the zahir meaning. If ta'wil were permissible, then they would have preceded us in it. This is from Ibtalut Tawilat bi Akhbaris Sifat, manuscript form, page 21. Ibn Abdul Barr died 463 Hijri. He said, Ahlul Sunnah are agreed in affirming all the attributes of Allah which are related in the Quran and the Sunnah, having iman, faith in them, and understanding them ala al-haqiqa, in a real sense, not ala al-majaz, metaphorically. How they are is not to be asked. However, the Jahmiyyah, the Mu'tazila, and the Khawarij all deny them and do not carry them ala al-haqiqa, claiming that whoever affirms them has made tashbih, resemblance. And they claim that whoever recites them as they are is a mushabih, a person doing tashbih. Ibn Qudama, who died 620 Hijri, he said, the way of the Salaf is to have iman, faith in the names and attributes of Allah that He has described Himself with in His revelation, or upon the tongue of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, without increasing nor decreasing in it, nor exceeding the limits, nor explaining them, i.e. like the Mu'tazila, nor making ta'weel of them in a way that opposes the zahir meaning, the apparent meaning. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, he died 728 Hijri. He said, from Iman, faith in Allah, is Iman in what He has described Himself with and what His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam described Him without tahrif, distortion, and ta'til, denial, negation, and without takif, asking how, or tamthil, likening them. Imam al-Junaywi rahimahullah, he died 438. He said, know that for a brief period of time I was confused about three matters. Number one, the issue of as-sifat, Allah's attributes. Number two, the issue of al-fawqiyah, Allah being above His creation. Number three, the issue of al-harf, the word, and sawt, the voice, about the glorious Quran. I used to be confused about the different sayings which are found in the contemporary books with respects to these matters, confused as to whether ta'wil, manipulative distortion, and tahrif should be made of the attributes, whether to make them as they are and halt at the meanings, or whether to affirm them without ta'wil, ta'til, tashbih, or tamthil. But I found in the text in the Book of Allah the Most High, in the Sunnah of His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, a great clarity about the reality of these attributes, and likewise with respect to affirming al-ulu, the highness of Allah, al-fawqiyah, al-harf, and as-sawt. Then I found in the books of the later ulama, from the mutakallimun, the people of theological rhetoric and innovated speech, they're making a ta'weel of Allah's attribute of al-istawa, Allah ascending above the creation, by saying that is meant qahr, His dominance, and istila, His conquering. Ta'weel of Allah's attribute of an-nuzul by saying that it meant His command descends. Ta'weel of the attribute of al-yadain, the hands of Allah, to mean His power or His favor. And ta'weel of al-qadam, the foot of Allah, to mean the fine reward with the Lord, and the likes of this. Subhanallah. Along with this, I found that they claim that the speech of Allah, Ta'ala Most High, claim that the speech of Allah, the Most High, meant a speech existent in His self, قائم بالذات, with word but not in voice. They claim that these words are a mode of expression from the meaning existing with Himself. From those who held to these sayings were a group of people who had high status in my heart, such as a group of the asha'irah, Shafi'i scholars, and I am upon the madhab of Shafi'i radiyallahu an, knowing the obligation of my religion and its rulings. So I found the likes of these great sheikhs adhering to the likes of such statements, and they were my teachers, and I had complete faith in them, their nobility and their knowledge. However, despite all this, I found in my heart having hatred for such ta'wil, such that I could not find any tranquility and peace with it. It caused my chest to feel constricted, rather than causing it to expand. And I used to fear affirming the attributes of al-ulu, al-istawa, and al-nuzul, fearing that it would imply hasr, limiting and encompassing Allah by His creation, and tashbih, resembling Allah to His creation, i.e. anthropomorphism. However, despite this, when I studied the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I found in them texts pointing to the reality of these meanings. I found that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam clarified that which came from his Lord, as well as describing him with them, and know that without any doubt at all, that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to have present in his noble gatherings the scholars and the ignorant person, the one with sharp intelligence and the not so sharply intelligent, the Arab and the non-Arab. However, I did not find anything by which he followed up such texts with which he used to describe his Lord, neither with another text nor with anything that would cause the meaning to be removed from the haqiqah, real meaning, or cause ta'wil to be made of them, such as the ta'wil of my shuyukh and scholars from the mutakallimin, the people of theological rhetoric and arid, innovated speech, such as the ta'til of al-istawa to istila, and the ta'wil of an-nuzul, Allah's descending, to mean that His command descends, and other such things. And I did not find that He sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to warn people from having faith in what was apparent in His speech describing His Lord, whether it was concerning al-fawqiyah, Allah being above the creation, or al-yadayn, the hands of Allah, subhanallah wa bihamdih, or other than them. And there is nothing recorded from him which proves that these attributes have another inner meaning other than what is apparent from their meaning. The Imam al-Juwayni rahimahullah mentioned some ayat and hadith concerning al-fawqiyah and al-istawa. Then he continues. So when we came to know this and came to hold this as our aqidah, we were then preserved from the doubts of ta'wil, the blindness of ta'til, divesting Allah totally or partially of His attributes, and the foolishness of tashbih and tamthil, likening Allah to His creation. We then affirmed Allah's al-ulu, the highness of the Lord, the most perfect, and His fawqiyah, and that He ascended, istawa, over His arsh in a manner that befits His majesty and greatness. So the truth is very clear in this, and the chest will readily accept this, for indeed tahrif, distortion of the text, is rejected by the correct and sound intellect, such as tahrif of istawa to istila, conquering. And other than this, likewise wuquf, affirming the wording of the attributes, but halting at their meanings, is also blindness and ignorance, since we know that our Lord described Himself with these attributes, that we may come to know Him by them. So in our knowing Him, we do not halt at affirming the wordings of the attributes, whilst negating what is intended from the meanings, since he did not describe himself to us by these attributes, except that we may affirm what he has described himself with, not that we halt at them. Likewise, tashbih and tamthil are also foolishness and ignorance. Thus, the one whom Allah the Most High causes to agree upon the affirmation of his attributes without tahrif, takyif, wuquf, then he has indeed agreed upon what is intended for them, if he the Most High wishes. Then he, rahimahullah, explains the reason why Ahlul Kalam, the people of theological rhetoric and innovative speech, felt that they were forced to make ta'wil of istawa to istila. So he said, and Allah expanded my chest about the state of the sheikhs who made the ta'wil of al-istawa to istila. And it is my belief that they do not understand the attributes of the Lord the Most High except with what befits the creation. Thus, they do not understand al-istawa of Allah as it truly befits Him. So this is why they distort the words from its proper context and deny what Allah has described Himself with. And we shall mention the explanation of that, insha'Allah. And there is no doubt that we and they, i.e. the asha'irah, agree upon affirming the attributes of al-hayat, life, al-sam, hearing, al-basar, al-ilm, al-qudra, al-ilm, knowledge, al-qudra, power, al-irada, will, and al-kalam, speech of Allah. And we certainly do not understand the attribute of life of Allah to mean with the likes of such organs that are established in our bodies. A'udhu billah. Likewise, we do not understand the hearing and seeing of Allah to imply that there are limbs. So just as they say His life is not like ours, nor is His knowledge and seeing, rather they are attributes in a way that is befitting to Him and not befitting to us. Then we likewise say His attribute of life is known, but His kayfiyah, the nature of how it is unknown. His knowledge is known, but His kayfiyah is not. Likewise, His seeing and hearing are known, and there is no implication of there being organs and bodily parts in any of this. Rather, all these attributes are in a way that befit Him. Likewise is the case for His ayn, eye, fawqiyah, istawa, and nuzul. His fawqiyah is known. It is established just like the reality of His hearing and the reality of His seeing are also established. They are known, but the kayfiyah is not. Then similarly, His fawqiyah is known and established in a way that befits Him, but the kayfiyah is not. Likewise, His istawa, ascending over the arsh, the throne, is known, but the kayfiyah is not explained by implying movements or transmission which befit the creation. A'udhu billah. Rather, His istawa is in a manner that befits His greatness. Thus, His attributes are known from the direction of sentence and affirmation, but are unknown from the perspective of how they are in setting limits. So the believer is clear about the attributes from one perspective and blind from the other. The believer is clear from the perspective of affirmation and existence of the attributes, but blind from the perspective of the kayfiyah and limits. And this is the way by affirming what Allah the Most High has described Himself with, and by negating tahrif, tashbih, and wuquf. This is what the Lord the Most High intends for us concerning His attributes, that we recognize them, have iman in them, being haqiqah, real, and negate any tashbih to them, not to deny for Allah His real attributes by tahrif and ta'weel. Indeed, there is no difference between Allah's attributes of al-istawa and as-sam and between His attributes of an-nuzul and al-basr, since they occurs by a text. So if they say to us about al-istawa, you have made tashbih, then we reply to them about as-sam, you have made tashbih, and you have described your Lord with organs. So they say, no organs. So if they say no organs and bodily parts, rather it is in a manner that befits Him, then we reply about al-istawa and al-fawqiyah. There is no confinement nor limitation, rather it is in a manner that befits Him. So whatever is necessary concerning the attributes of life, hearing, seeing, and knowledge, and not making any tashbih to them, then such is also necessitated regarding Allah's attributes of ascending, descending, al-yad, al-wajh, the face, qadam, subhanallah, wa amma yushrikun, al-dahak, laughing, and ta'ajjul, amazement. So just as they do not imply for Him any organs, we do not imply for Him any limbs, nor anything that befits the creation. A'udhu billah. It is not from justice and fairness that they understand the attributes of ascending, descending, face, and hand to imply resemblance to the creation. And therefore they think that they must resort to ta'weel and tahrif, yet they do not do so for the other attributes such as life, hearing, and seeing, such as those possessing justice and fairness will understand what we have said, have aqidah in it, accept our sincere advice, and will take the deen of Allah, the affirmation of all His attributes, negating them from any tashbih, ta'til, ta'weel, or wuquf. This is what Allah intended from us concerning this, since all these attributes that they affirm and all the others that they make ta'weel of come from a single place, and that is the Quran and the Sunnah. Thus, when we affirm one set of attributes without ta'weel, but make ta'weel and tahrif for the others, then we are like those who believed in one part of the book but disbelieved in another part. And this is sufficient and clear, if Allah the Most High wills, insha'Allah. End of his words, rahimahullah. This was from Risala Batul Istawa wal Fawqiyah, page 176 to 186, abridged, which is part of Majmu' Rasail al-Muniriyah. And Muhammad ibn Abdul Alim Abu Hammam of Jamiatul Azhar said, after addressing the issue of interpolating istawa, he ascended to mean istawla, he conquered, and from this is the danger of ta'wil, i.e. that it necessitates the the consideration of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam to have lied. And Ibn Qayyim explains that ta'wil is more evil than ta'til, which is merely denying the divine attributes and rejecting their established with the self of Allah, that the most perfect. Because ta'wil contains both tashbih, ta'til, and also playing and fooling with the text, as well as having a bad opinion of them. A mu'attil, denier of the attributes, and the mu'awwil, one who interpolates them, have shared with each other in the denial of the realities of the names and attributes. But the mu'awwil has succeeded in his playing and fooling with the texts and having a bad opinion of them, and also ascribing the one who speaks with them that he speaks with the apparent meanings, that he is astray and leads others astray. Therefore, they have combined into falling into 4 dangers. Number 1, their belief that what is manifest and apparent from the words of Allah and His Messenger is impossible and is falsehood, and therefore they have understood them to be tashbih, anthropomorphism, from the very beginning. Number 2, they have denied the reality of the meaning on the basis that this is such an understanding that does not befit them, and nor does it befit the Rabb, the most perfect. Number 3, ascribing to the speaker the perfect in knowledge and elucidation, bayan, and the perfect in giving advice, and that is Allah, the most perfect, the opposite of elucidation, bayan, guidance, huda, giving direction, irshad. This is i.e. resorting to ta'wil, necessitates that they are more knowledgeable than him, more eloquent and clear in speech than him, and greater in giving advice to mankind. Number 4, playing with the texts of the book and the sunnah and putting an end to their sanctity and sacredness, let alone. 5, that the mu'awwil, one who resorts to ta'wil, is not pleased with, for Allah the Azza wa Jal, what the most knowledgeable of him amongst the people, and he is the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was pleased with for him. Number 6, that this ta'wil, had Allah decided it for himself, then he would have ordered it in his book or upon the tongue of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then ta'wil of the attributes of Allah the Most High would have been obligatory, a necessary part of the deen, the neglect of which would be forbidden. Whoever abandoned it would have been sinful. And this is in addition to the fact that when Allah, the Most High, has not permitted it, then doing it would be a mistake, and it would be a manner that is blameworthy and forbidden due to what it implies. That is, it's being a form of correcting and rectifying Allah the Most High and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number 7, that the mu'awwil of the attributes of Allah and fleeing from tashbih, anthropomorphism, and fearing it, had been ignorant of a great reality, and this is the impossibility of there being any likeness between the attributes of Allah the Most High and the attributes of His servants, since there can be no likeness between the attributes of the creation and the attributes of the creation ever. And this is due to the fact that Allah has informed that there is nothing like Him, and He is the all-hearer, the all-hearing, the all-seeing, and He is the unique, Ahad, and there is no equal to Him. And the Mu'awwil, in resorting to Ta'wil, is a liar, kadhab, since the reality differs from what he says in its entirety, and is also a denier, mukadhib, because he has rejected Allah with respect to his saying, Laysa kamithlihi shay', there is nothing like Him. And this person who fall into these sins is a pagan, mushrik, and a disbeliever due to associating some of the servants of Allah with some of the attributes of Allah. A'udhu billah. Number 8, that this mu'awd of the attributes of Allah, the Most High, in fleeing from tashbih and in fearing it. The mighty difference between the attributes of the Creator, the Magnificent, the Most High, and between the attributes of the weak and incapable servants has become hidden from Him. Number 9, and Ta'wil makes the text of the book and the Sunnah lose their characteristic reverence and prestige, since this Ta'wil has not depended upon an authentic text from the Sharia, and not a single one of the scholars of the Salaf have spoken with it. Number 10, and likewise, this Ta'wil is in contradiction with the fact that Islam, being a practical religion, is compatible and in harmony with every age and era. And it also contradicts the fact that Allah Azza wa Jal has described the Quran as being a discourse, hayan, an explanation, tibyan, for every single thing, and something made easy for remembrance, and in whose ayat reflection and contemplation has been requested. And for this reason, Abu Qasim ibn Mandah said in his book, Arad ala al-Jahmiyyah, to the Ashab al-Hadith, Ta'wil is a form of rejection, takdhib. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.